Hello everyone, very good morning. Welcome to Ashok IT. In today's section, we are going to learn how to build a fully functional registration and login system using ASP.NET Core Web API and SQL Server and Entity Framework. In Entity Framework, we using DB first approach and without migrations. Okay, we will cover everything step by step from setting up the project. First, create the database tables and implement registration and login APIs and inserting the data for testing and testing the APIs using Swagger. Okay, this project is perfect for freshers who are learning web API development as well as for experienced developers who want to understand practical API implementation. By the end of this section, you will have a working web API project ready for integration with any front-end application. Okay, the web API project architecture will be like this. For example, for example, one user, one user, one user. User user wants to log in Instagram. User wants to log in Instagram. User first enters the username and password. Username and password. And click on login button. Click on login button. Then browser sends the request. Browser sends the request to server. Browser sends the request to server. What is server? .NET, PHP, Java, Mail, and etc. Okay? .NET, PHP, Java, and Main, etc. Okay? Here, server checks the logic. Here, server checks the logic. And server also connects with database. Server connects with database. Connects with database. Okay, here your username and password is okay, then return data, then return data to server, return data to server, and server sends response. Server sends response to browser. Server responds to browser. Okay, and browser display the dashboard, and browser display the dashboard. This architecture is called this architecture is called client server architecture. Client server architecture. This server is called client server architecture. Okay, first user enter the username and password and click on the login button. Browser sends the request to server. Server means our .NET or PHP and Java or main. Okay, server connects with database. Server connects the database. Okay, database here checks the your username and your password. Okay, here checks the username and password is available or not. Okay, then server sends the response to browser. Server sends the response to browser. Browser displays the dashboard. Okay, This total architecture is called client server architecture. Client server architecture. Okay. Once you understand this flow, everything becomes easy. Okay. Once you understand this flow, everything becomes easy. Okay. And to complete this project, we are going to perform few steps. Okay, we are going to perform few steps. The first step is the first step is project setup. Project setup. Okay. The second step is the second step is the second step is database. Database. The third step is install entity framework core packages. Install entity framework core packages. Okay. The step number 4 is the step number 4 is create model class. Step number 4 is create model class. Okay. Step number 5 is add connection string. Add connection string. Okay. Step number 6 is step 6 is create DB contest. Create DB contest. Step 7 is register DB contest in program.css. Register DB contest in program.cs. Okay. Step 7 is step 8 is registration API and login API. Step 8 is registration API and login API. And step 7 is and step 9 is test the API using Swagger. Using Swagger or Postman. Okay. To complete this project, we are going to perform few steps. The first step is first one project setup. The second one is database. Okay. Third one is install few entity framework core packages. The fourth step is create model class. Then add to connection string. Then step 6 is create DB contest. The 7 is register DB contest in program.css. The eighth step is registration API and login API. Then final one testing the API using Swagger or Postman. Okay. So let's get started. The first one is project setup. Project setup. Okay. First open the Visual Studio. First we create a new project. ASP.NET Core Web API. Click on next. Here project name, register and login. register and login. Click on next. Here our framework .NET 10.0. It is long-term support. Okay, it is long-term support. Then create. Click on create. Here, this template automatically provides controllers and program.cs. Okay, controllers and program.cs. We will also install entity framework code to connect with SQL Server. Okay, its Swagger will help us to test our APIs without writing a front end. Okay, this setup is the foundation for our registration and login system. Okay, the second step is the second step is database. Okay, click on SQL Server Management Studio. Click on connect. Here only one database name is AuthDemoDB. Now we create one database. Okay, the name is StudentDB. How to create database? Create database. Database name is StudentDB. StudentDB. Here click on execute button. Click on execute button. Our database is completely successful. Okay, now use StudentDB. Use StudentDB. See, before here only AuthDemoDB. Now we create one more DB is StudentDB. Okay, now we use StudentDB. Okay, now inside it we add a table called users. Okay, how to create table? Create table. Table name is users. Table name is users. Okay, inside that id, student id, data type is int, data type is int, and identity and identity 1 comma 1, and also primary key. Okay, the second one is username. Second one is username. Da- Data type is varchar. Data type is varchar 100 characters. Okay, the next one is email. The next one is email. Data type is varchar. Here characters is 100. Okay, the final one is password. Password and data type varchar. Okay, 50 characters. Okay, now click on execute. Our table is successfully completed. Now see, select star from users. Users. see, id, username, email and password. Now insert into users, okay, some dummy users. Insert into users, username, email and password, email and password. And values are username Ashok and email is ashok@gmail.com. Third one is password is Ashok IT. Okay, close the bracket. Select and click on execute. Okay, one row is affected. Now see insert the one row. Okay, username Ashok, email is Ashok IT, ashok@gmail.com, and password is Ashok IT. Okay, now our database is ready. Okay, the next one, install the entity framework core in .NET. Okay, why install the entity framework core? Entity framework core needs specific packages to communicate with SQL server. Okay, to communicate with SQL server. Without installing these packages, you cannot connect to SQL server. You cannot connect to SQL server. Okay. The second one is you cannot create DB contest. You cannot create DB contest. Okay. Third one is you cannot use linky queries. You cannot use link queries. Okay. Fourth one is you cannot perform CRUD operations. You cannot perform CRUD operations. Okay. So installing Unity framework packages is the foundation of using Unity framework core. Okay. The first here, right click on this, click on manage NuGet packages, go to browser tab, and here first search SQL server. Taking this, I'm taking latest table 10.0.3. Click on install, apply, and accept. Okay. It is installed. The second one is tools. Here, here also I'm taking 10.0.3. Click on install, click on apply, click on accept. And install swashbuckle.hp core. Here, this is for Swagger. Click on install and apply and accept. It is installed. Okay. Here see we install Microsoft Entity Framework Core SQL Server, tools and ASP.NET Core slash bucket. Okay. Now, now add the connection string. Why add the connection string? A connection string tells your application with a connection string. A connection string tells your application which database to connect to and how. Okay. Without a connection string, without a connection string, the first one is app cannot find your SQL server. App cannot find your SQL server. Okay. App cannot. The second one is app cannot access the table. Okay. Entity framework core want to know where the run queries. Okay. So connection string is like the address of your database. Your address of your database. Okay. Where it is placed in here app.json. Here app.json. Okay. Click on this here. Okay. Connection string. Okay. Connection strings. Inside that SQL con server. Click on this. This is our server. This is our server name. Okay. Now database. Now database is student DB. Our database name is student DB. Not colon is equal to database equal to student DB. Okay. Now trusted connection. Now trusted connection equal to true, equal to true. Then trust server certificate, trust server certificate equal to true. Okay. Now our connection string is done. Okay. The next step is the next step is create model class. Create model class. Okay. The user model maps the user model maps to our users table in the database. Okay. First, right click on this, click on add. First click on create one folder. Folder name is models. Folder name is models. Inside that we create one class. Class name is users. Class name is users. Okay. Dot cs. Okay. Inside that public int id, public int id, get set. Okay. Here I give key. Key means it is a primary key. Okay. The second one is public string username. Okay. Public string username. The next one is public string password. The next one public string email. Public string email. Okay. Here the user model maps to our users table in the database. Okay. Each property corresponds to a column. Okay. Each property corresponds to a column. This model will be used to send and receive user data in the APIs. Okay. This model will be used to send and receive user data in the APIs. Okay. Entity framework will handle cloud operations using this model. Okay. Using this model. Okay. For demo purposes, passwords are stored as a plain text. Okay. Must and should it matches your table columns. Okay. It matches your table columns. Now create another folder. Folder name is DTOS. Inside DTOS we create one class. Class name is login DTO. Login DTO.cs. Okay. Here DTO stands for data transfer object. Data transfer object. A simple class used to transfer data between the client and server. Okay, it is a simple class used to transfer data between the client and server, and it helps separate the API input and output from the actual database model. Okay, actual database model. First, public string username or email. Username, email. Here, accept either username or email for login. Okay. Here, accept either username or email for login. Then password. Password here enter the by the user. Okay. Password enter by the user. Okay. And in our login example, the DTO contains only the fields required for login, username or email and password. Okay, and password. Using a DTO ensure that sensitive database fields like ID are not exposed directly to the client. Okay, using a DTO ensures that sensitive database fields like ID are not exposed directly to the client. Okay, DTOs make API contracts clear, so the client knows exactly what data to send or receive. Okay, they also help with validation and prevent overposting attacks, as only specified fields are allowed. Okay, here user can enter either email or username. Okay, here the user login password. Now click on add, create another folder. Folder name is data. Folder name is data. Okay. Inside that, create a one class. Class name is application application db contest db contest cs. Okay. Now next step is create db contest. Create db contest. Okay. A db contest connects our application to SQL server. Okay. Connects our application to SQL server. Okay. Here we had the db contest. db contest. Okay. Inside that, public application db contest. Inside that, db contest options, base options. Okay. Then public db set. Here model class name, users. Okay. Here it exposes db set users to work with the users table. This work with the users table. Okay. CRUD operations like insert, update, and read are handled automatically. Okay. We configure it in program.cs using our connection string. Okay. This is essentially for both registration and login APS. Okay. The next one is the next step is register DB context in program.cs. Okay. Now close it. Click on program.cs. Okay. First, first remove all things. Remove all this. Now paste this. Copy this. Okay. SQL con. Here get connection string SQL con. Okay. Why in ASP.NET Core, services like DB contest must be registered in the dependency injection system. Okay, must be inject in dependency injection system. Why dependency injection? Okay, why? Okay, it automatically create objects. It's automatically creates objects. Okay. Second one is it reduces code. It reduces code. The third one is it makes controller clean. It makes controller clean. Okay. The fourth one is it helps it helps in testing. Helps in testing. And fifth one is it avoids it avoids manual connection handling. manual connection handling. If you don't register DB contest, the API will crash. Okay, the API will crash. Okay, save it. And also, this tells whenever you need app DB contest, create it using SQL Server and the connection string. Okay. The next one is create controllers. Okay. Right click on controllers. Click on add. Go to controller. Click on API. Take an API control empty. Click on add. Our controller name is register and login controller. Okay. First, app DB contest class inject the here. Okay. Private read only application DB contest. Application DB contest. DB contest. Okay. Object is DB contest. Now we create one constructor. Now we create constructor. Public register and login controller. Inside that application DB contest. DB contest equal to DB contest. This is called dependency injection. Okay, this is called dependency injection. Okay, now I create one method, HTTP method, that is HTTP post. This is for register. This is for register. Public async, public async task I action result, I action result register register. Inside that from body users model users object. Okay, inside that if await await db contest dot users dot any async any async async you you dot username equal to users dot username. Okay, return bad request username already exists. Okay. Now db contest dot users dot add users. Okay. Await db contest dot save changes await save changes async. Okay. Now return. Okay. Registration successful. Registration successful. Here the registration API takes username, email and password from the client. Okay. It first checks if the username already exists or not. Okay. If the user is new, it is saved into the database. It is saved into the database. Finally, the API returns a success message. Finally, the API returns a success message. This allows new users to create accounts easily. Okay. The one more thing is first find the launch settings. Okay. Select all, delete and add this. Okay. First rebuild the solution. It is rebuild. Okay, no errors. Then clean the solution, clean it and build the solution. See it build success rate. Now click on execute. Automatically open Swagger for testing. Okay. First username Venkat @ gmail.com. Username is and email also. Password is Venkat. Okay. For demo purpose, we use password is plain text. Okay. Click on execute. Okay. See email, password and username. Okay. First check username already exist or not. Okay, it is new username, saves changes and return registration successfully. Okay, now see see username new one is added. Okay, the next one is login http post login. Okay, public async task I action result login from body. Here we use DTOs login DTO. Okay, where user equal to await db contest dot users db contest users dot first or default first or default. Okay, async first or default async first or default async. Okay, lambda expression u dot username equal to login dto dot username at path email. Okay, or u dot email u dot email equal to login dto dot username or email. Okay, the next one is if user equal to null. Okay, if user equal to null return bad request invalid username or email. Okay, invalid username or email. If user dot password not equal to login dto dot password, then return bad request incorrect password. Okay, incorrect password. Okay, return okay. login successful, login successful. Okay, here the API accept a single field, username or email and password. It checks the database for matching username or email. Okay, and verifies if the password is correct. And verify if the password is correct. Okay, return the username and password if login is successful. Okay, and provides appropriate error message for invalid credentials. Okay, here first find the username or email. Okay, first check. This is username and password. Okay, click on execute. First check username and password exist or not. Okay, it is not none. It is not incorrect password. It is correct password and return login successfully. Okay, return login successfully. For example, one incorrect password. Click on return incorrect password. Okay, return incorrect password. Okay, here first we create project setup. First we create project setup, then create database, then create database and tables and dummy data, then install entity framework core packages, then create one model class and add the connection string, then create one DB context. Okay, then register DB context in program.cs and create one controller inside that registration API and login API. And testing purpose, we use Swagger. We use Swagger. Okay. Okay, everyone. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please comment your opinion on this video. We'll see you in the next video. Thank you, everyone.